What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Today's video is going to be about the Season 5 patch notes for Warzone. Before we get into that, I want to shout out the guy who makes this cleanravensoftware.com patch notes. He's at KevBon3 on Twitter. I talked to him a little bit today, and we're going to potentially collab in the future, but I'm not exactly sure how he built this, but it's super useful, so I just wanted to give him a shout out. And just to remind you all, if you ever want access to these clean patch notes with colorized patch changes, so if it's a buff, it'll be green. If it's a nerf, it'll be red. If you want access to this, just the normal Raven software patch notes page, you just put the word clean in front of the URL, and it loads into his website, which has the cleaned up patch notes. So it'll replace all, like, if it says like assault rifle Charlie from Vanguard, it'll replace that with the actual weapon name. Call of Duty's not allowed to use those weapon names in their patch notes for a few different reasons, but it's just really nice because an external party like KevBon3, he can make something like this that replaces it all automatically. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. But as always, if you guys like the content, be sure to drop a subscription to the channel or a like on the video and a comment on the video. We are going to be doing a lot more videos this month, hopefully, for Season 5. This patch looks like it's going to be absolutely awesome. I'm really excited about all these changes. But let's jump into it, and we will go through all of them. I'm not going to go through all of the patch notes. I'm just going to focus on a few key things. So first up, Serpentine. So Serpentine was actually affecting fire damage and explosive damage. You can see here. So anytime you were sprinting, fire damage or explosive damage would be reduced. They've removed that effect, and this is because they don't want it to be cannibalizing people picking EOD. So EOD reduces fire damage and explosive damage. And then also, now Serpentine is only going to take effect when you're tac sprinting, not when you're regular sprinting. And that's really good. This perk was becoming the most popular perk in slot 1. And for good reason. It was just like a straight up damage reduction and can save you in certain situations. So I'm happy to see this balanced out a little bit. I do want to note, though, that change to only being a tac sprint effect, it says this is going to arrive later in the season. So maybe in the mid-season update or just one of the future patches, we'll actually see that change. Another great perk change, we've got Battle Hardened. This reduced the effect of stuns and flashes before by 50% and 70% respectively, and now they're both going to be at 80%. This is great. Stuns are just massively overpowered in a lot of ways, and so it's good that we have some sort of counter to that. So if stuns are something that drive you crazy, now you have a viable way to counter them. Quick overall notes on the changes to the weapons. They've nerfed the 3 to 6x and the 4 to 8x on the Vanguard weapons, which is something that I recommended and thought would be a really good change to make. So I'm really happy to see that. And then the aggressive and heavy snipers both see a big flinch reduction, mostly the aggressive snipers. So the snipers that only have a one-shot damage range out to 50 meters or so, those are going to get a big flinch reduction. And then heavy snipers are also going to get a little bit of a flinch reduction. Again, a change that I recommended and really wanted to see, because I feel like all the changes they've made to the snipers, they've been trying to get them into a good spot, but they just kind of got over nerfed and kind of repeatedly nerfed in different ways. And to me, flinch is like the most frustrating thing to try to deal with as a sniper. I know there's people out there that will cry realism, like you're not supposed to use a sniper as an aggressive playstyle, and I get that, but this is a video game, and I think aggressive sniping and playing semi-aggressive with a sniper is a very fun playstyle that got absolutely obliterated through all the patch changes. So I'm really excited to see this. I think with the no one-shot out to infinity for the aggressive snipers, I think we can have that lower flinch and make them more viable up close, out to like 50 or 60 meters, and it'll be completely fine still. So really excited to see these changes and excited to play them. We also got 2 new guns. So we've got the EX1 assault rifle. This is actually like an advanced warfare sniper rifle, or AR. I'm not exactly sure why we got an advanced warfare gun in a World War II game, but I'm not going to complain because I honestly just don't really like World War II stuff. So I'm excited to see how this will play out. I have to get into a private match and test this. They also removed private matches today because there was some sort of bug going on, so I don't know when I'm going to have the stats for this. The RA-225 submachine gun was also added, and again, I'm not going to be able to test that for a little while until the private matches are back. But let's get into the weapon adjustments and weapon changes. Okay, first up, we've got the AS-44. This caught a max damage decrease from 24 down to 22, and then the longer range attachments got a little bit of a buff. So The AS-44 was becoming very much like an SMG only, like it was really only being used as an SMG. And that's just because it had crazy fire rate and damage output. So now it's going to be reduced in that first damage range. Max damage means the first damage range. And then, like I said, the long range barrel got better recoil control and more damage range. And then the ZAC-12B custom stock got a little bit of change as well. Moving on, we have the bar. So the 8mm Clouser 40 round mag. They just increased the capacity by 10, so it has 50 bullets now. The bar got pretty heavily nerfed in one of the recent patches, so it's just not very good anymore. This will help it be a little bit more viable, but even so, I still think that there's going to be a lot of better options out there. Cooper Carbine. So Cooper Carbine, the compressed rounds, this is the ammunition that's unique to the Cooper Carbine that increases the fire rate. They have increased the recoil by 1%, went from 3.5% to 4.5% increase. Not a big change there, but probably good to see, because with all the fire rate attachments, the Cooper Carbine got to be pretty good, especially for the small maps. The 22-inch Cooper Custom, this was the long-range barrel that everyone used. The horizontal recoil control was decreased by 15%, so it used to help 50% on horizontal recoil, and now it only helps 35%. So overall, Cooper got a little bit of a nerf, but not a huge nerf. KGM-40, so this has been kind of the meta since the STG nerfs. The STG really was also still pretty meta, but I think everybody was just sick of it for the most part. But anyway, the KGM-40 got a minimum damage nerf by 2, so this is pretty dramatic actually. That's almost a 10% damage nerf out at max range, and it already had really bad time to kill out there. So this is going to make it probably fit in a little bit more where it should. Again, this is something that I recommended. The low recoil guns just kill a little bit too fast, in my opinion, before this update, to compete with the higher recoil guns that kill faster. And I think this change will be really good to balance that out a little bit. Increase in sprint to fire time, that's going to be pretty ineffectual. And then a bunch of attachment changes. So the shrouded barrel muzzle velocity was decreased to 38%, down from 45%. So it's going to be a little harder to hit your shots at range. And then recoil was also nerfed as well a little bit. So really the KGM-40 is being balanced out nicely. The 6.5mm Sakura 40 round mag, muzzle velocity penalty was increased, and then recoil control for both vertical and horizontal was made worse. The 8mm Clouser 60 round mag, movement speed was decreased by 0.5%, so a very small amount there. And then the ADS penalty was increased by 2.5%. That's a pretty big change actually. And then the padded stock doesn't help with recoil as much as it did before. So overall, KG got a pretty solid nerf. I think it's in a pretty good spot now, and really just a balanced option. So again, they came in with some interesting buffs to some older weapons. The Grau 556 max damage was increased to 29, up from 28, and the max damage range was increased by about 1 meter. And then also they gave it a neck multiplier. So nice little buff to the Grau. It's a fan favorite, obviously, from over the years. One of those guns you can use iron sights on. It's not as common to use iron sights when you're a PC player, because you're going to have your FOV unaffected, which means that iron sights on 80 FOV or on console are going to be relatively close to what like a VLK zoom is on 120 FOV affected on PC. So that's why I think you'll see console players running this with iron sights, and then people that are on PC will probably use a VLK. The Groza got a minimum damage increase, so out at range, the Groza is going to be slightly better now. Vargo 52, Vargo's always been very good. It got a 20 millisecond decrease to its ADS time, so that's a nice little buff. And then the Spetsnaz 60 round drum doesn't hurt your ADS time as much anymore. It's a 5% faster ADS than it used to be. Vargo-S, so min damage was increased to 22, up from 20. That's a big buff. 2 damage might not seem like a lot, but it is actually pretty important, especially once you multiply those by the shot location multipliers. And then also they got a neck damage multiplier, so now that neck damage is the same as the headshot damage. I haven't looked at this yet, but I think this gun's going to be very good in this meta. And I still haven't gotten all the attachments on there. I know it's been out for a very long time. I'm sorry about that. I've had people visiting and just been taking some time off overall. But I'm getting back into it now, and everybody's gone back to their homes, so I should have a lot more time here to get all this stuff up. Overall, I just think the Vargo-S is going to be in a pretty good spot now with the barrel changes, the mag changes. Overall, it's looking like it's going to be pretty good. The STG got a little bit of a nerf. So the long range barrel, this is the barrel everybody uses. 10% more horizontal recoil and 5% less muzzle velocity. Small change, but honestly, the STG was not like OP. It was really one of the better options, but it wasn't, I wouldn't say like massively overpowered or anything. So just small changes like this are going to be really good to balance these guns out. The 8mm Kurz 60 round drum. So this is the default caliber magazine. The ADS time scaler penalty was decreased to -10%, up from -7%. So this is kind of weird wording. I'm not exactly sure what that means. But yeah, it's been changed. I'm just not exactly sure what they're trying to say there. UGM 8 sustained recoil adjusted slightly. Need to check that out actually in game, but I don't know how what that means, whether it was increased or decreased. But I'll be able to compare that in game and update the recoil patterns on TGD. The Type 11. So Type 11's this is a LMG that's been kind of sneaking up on being a decent option for a long time. So the 487mm shrouded barrel, rate of fire penalty was decreased by 3.5%. So now it's -11.5% instead of -15%. So it's going to shoot a little bit faster than it did before this patch. Horizontal recoil control was increased to 32%, so a 2% increase. So it's going to have a little bit better horizontal recoil, but it's only 2%. It's not going to make that big of a difference. On the 5.6 45 round mag, the muzzle velocity penalty was removed. Again, they're trying to make this sneak into a little more viable option for long range usage. So they're making it easier to hit your shots if you use that small caliber magazine by making the bullet velocity a little bit better. And then here we've got a gigantic change. So the Marksman rifles from Vanguard have always used sniper ammo. We've always been recommending that they switch that to assault rifle. And they've finally done that. So now in Season 5, all of the Vanguard Marksman rifles are going to use assault rifle ammo, and this could lead to some almost DMR-like options, I think. So SVT, M1 Garand, G43 are all going to be probably really, really good now, just because they are going to use assault rifle ammo. They were good before. It was just that you didn't have enough ammo to actually use them. So we'll see how this plays out. I hope they're not massively overpowered, but I think there's a chance that we could have a couple builds in there that'll be pretty crazy. They also decreased the flinch on the Marksman rifles by 33%. And then specific changes. So the SVT, this is the slower shooting, really, really hard hitting Marksman rifle. ADS time was decreased by 50 milliseconds. And then basically like some nerfs to the barrels and the mags just to try to make sure it doesn't get massively overpowered. So the precision barrel has slightly worse ADS time now. The 303 British 15 round mag has a little bit more damage penalty and a little bit better ADS time actually. And then the recoil control that it gives you is dramatically changed. So it used to help by 32%. It would reduce your vertical and horizontal by 32%. Now it's only 5%. And then the 6.5 Sakura 20 round mag, damage penalty decreased to 17%, up from -11%. So now it hurts your damage by an extra 6%. It also increases your rate of fire only 30% now instead of 50%. So like I said, they're trying to kind of balance these out ahead of time before these guns are just massively overpowered now that they're using assault rifle ammo. The ADS time was decreased to 1%, down from 2%. Again, that's weird wording, so I'm not exactly sure what that means. Recoil control is 10% instead of 45%. So it used to dramatically help with your recoil. Now it only helps with your recoil a little bit. M1 Garand, muzzle velocity was increased by 13.4%. These numbers are always really interesting to me. They're like really, really specific. You know, you'd think it would just be like 13% or something, or 14%, but for some reason it's 13.4. But anyway, that's going to make it easier to hit your shots at range. And then same thing here, they increased the magazine capacities on pretty much all the mags here, but they made the recoil worse and just basically tried to reduce the fire rate a little bit and, nerf the movement speed a little bit. But you do have more bullets, and they are using assault rifle, and the damage profile wasn't changed. So the Garand could be kind of crazy good now. I think some of these, like I said, could really sneak into the meta and be just kind of crazy. G43, Even with the switch to assault rifle ammo, this is another Marksman rifle from Vanguard. It actually has gotten a buff to damage, so it does 1 more damage in the first damage range and then 3 more damage in the furthest range. So that's kind of crazy. This thing could be really, really good now, especially because it has an automatic barrel. So you can basically just turn this into an AR now. Could be just crazy good. Precision barrel ADS penalty was buffed. The rapid barrel recoil recovery is better now, and then the full auto barrel was nerfed a little bit in terms of vertical recoil. So the vertical recoil was increased by 2% before, now it's increased by 20%. And then the horizontal recoil actually got a buff, so it used to be 40% worse. Now it's only 10% worse. And again, they're increasing mag size as well. So the 8mm Clouser used to be a 20 round mag, now it's a 40 round mag. ADS time penalty was, I think this should be red. So it used to be, again, the wording's weird, but you would think that if the magazine capacity was increased, that now ADS is slower. So that's what I'm going to assume this means. But yeah, I can test these in game and actually verify the changes, but the wording can just be a little odd on some of these. M1916, 30 millisecond ADS buff, and then better recoil recovery on the custom barrel, and then the rate of fire bonus on the 20 round Sakura mag. Used to be 20% rate of fire increase. Now it's only a 5% rate of fire increase. So again, they've nerfed down those fire rates a little bit, and I think that is just to kind of balance out the usage of assault rifle ammo. Modern Warfare crossbow caught a little bit of a nerf according to this. What's odd though is when looking at this on TGD, these are not the multipliers I had at all. So I need to double check this in game. I'm not sure exactly what happened here, but it looks like a nerf according to the patch notes. But if my multipliers were right, then this would actually be a buff. So we'll see. I'll check it out. It's most likely a nerf, and I just had the wrong multipliers before, but I'm just not positive about that. Not going to cover melee stuff. Clouser pistol got some pretty big buffs, but I don't have pistols on TGD right now. They're very close to coming back, but they've been very close for a long time. I've just had a lot of other stuff going on. And then on to sniper rifles. So I talked about this at the start, but I am super excited about these changes. Flinch decreased on heavy snipers by 11%, which is good. I mean, I think the heavy snipers should have a lot more flinch if they're going to one-shot everywhere. And then the light snipers got a reduction of 40% again, and they've been reduced in previous patches. So this is probably bringing them not back to where they were originally, but kind of where I think they should be, where they're going to be usable. It's been kind of hard to justify using like a Kar 98 or something over a ZRG or the heavy snipers from Vanguard, just because having that ability to one-shot at all ranges and then still having terrible flinch on the light snipers, really just, there was not a whole lot of reason to use the lighter snipers when they were still going to flinch like crazy. So this change I think is fantastic. I'm super happy to see this. The LW3 got a big old buff, so we always considered the LW3 like a heavy sniper, but they have kind of since defined it as like a light sniper where it doesn't one-shot at all ranges. So these changes are really big. So it's got 69 meters of damage range, giggity. It has a 1.52 upper torso multiplier, up from 1.1, and then the lower torso multiplier was increased to 1.3. So it's going to do a lot more damage. It's going to have more damage range. It has better ADS times, just really big buffs overall. A few more individual sniper changes. The Type 99, the sniper barrel, now does much more damage to the neck, a little bit less damage to the chest. This is one of those things I need to double check in game because my multipliers were wrong. I've written a really clever program that can basically back calculate the multipliers out from the damage values that I measure in game, but it's only right like 95% of the time because there's just some situations where I'll never be able to get it perfectly correct without knowing what it is in the code. And this is one of those cases where it was just slightly off, so I need to double check these damage values in game. The 3-line, the 30-06 20 round mag, damage bonus is only 7% across the board now instead of 10%. And the fire rate penalty, which I didn't even know it had, was buffed slightly. So it used to be 10% fire rate penalty, now it's only 6.5% fire rate penalty. Combat shotgun, I don't cover shotguns very much, but it got a big nerf. And then on to SMGs. So the Arma has been really, really meta in this last patch, as I've covered. ADS movement speed was nerfed a little bit. It was the king of ADS movement speed. It's still going to be very good. But this is basically like a, 3% nerf, 3 or 4% nerf to the ADS movement speed across the board. And then there's basically a lot of recoil nerfs. So the Arma has, with the 550mm, I covered this in my SMGs video, basically no recoil at all. I'm surprised that it was only 15% and 20% reduction because it felt like way more than that. But that has been changed now to 10% and 15% respectively. So just a 5% change there. If it really was this before and it's only 5% different, I don't think this is going to make that much of a difference in how it feels. The short barrel recoil penalty was increased by 5%. Precision barrel headshot damage was reduced slightly. Used to be 1.2 multiplier, now it's 1.14. Muzzle velocity was decreased by 10%, and then the horizontal recoil control was decreased by 10%. So 10% more horizontal recoil, 10% less bullet velocity, and slightly less headshot damage. Pretty big nerf there to the precision barrel. The 8mm Kurz 72 round mag, this is the one that I recommended using in a lot of the builds. Muzzle velocity bonus went down by 10%, and then damage range bonus was removed. So it used to increase damage range by 5%. Now it doesn't do it at all. And then the 9mm 60 round mag, this is the default caliber magazine. Movement speed penalty was increased to 3%, which is pretty dramatic. It used to be only 1% penalty to your overall movement speed, and now it's 3%. And then the ADS time penalty was also increased by 2%. So ADS times will be a little bit slower. And then the Emerito TA skeletal stock, basically the recoil properties of that stock were nerfed a little bit. Marco 5, also an incredibly meta SMG. Max damage was decreased by 2, so the first damage range. Mid damage was decreased by 1, but that mid damage range was increased by 5 meters. So now you're going to get that mid damage out an extra 5 meters, even though it got nerfed a little bit. In terms of the actual damage output, you will have extra range. These are pretty big numbers, so pretty big nerfs here. I think for sure the Arma is going to be meta still. Marco and Arma and Blixen were all pretty good, but Marco and Arma kind of edged out the Blixen a little bit. And now I think for sure the Arma is going to be the meta SMG. The Emerito 342mm barrel for the Marco, bullet velocity decreased by 10% from what it was before. And then recoil control also is hurt a little bit on that barrel. And the Perfetto Lesto barrel, it used to hurt your recoil by 21%. Now it hurts it by 25%, so you get a little bit more recoil. And then horizontal recoil control was decreased to 15% from 12%, so a little bit more horizontal recoil as well. The Blixen, the Bergstrom 17-inch barrel, this was the last barrel that really helped the recoil on the Blixen. It used to do 45% to vertical and horizontal, and now it only does 30%. So 15% nerf to the recoil control of the Bergstrom barrel. And then they finally changed the 7.62 Gorenko 54 round mag. So we used to have two 7.62 Gorenko mags, the 36 round and the 54 round. The 36 round increased your chest shot damage, and the 54 round, for some reason, even though it was the same caliber mag, did headshot multiplier and gave you more headshot damage. So it was really odd. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but now it is changed. So now it's gonna, I think, match the 36 round mag. It no longer has the headshot multiplier. Upper torso damage multiplier was increased a little bit, so that matches up again with the 36 round mag. Movement speed scale decreased to 0.97, down from 1.02. So it used to increase your movement speed. Now it actually hurts your movement speed by 3%. And then ADS time scalar penalty decreased to -4%, up from -3%. I think this is, again, confusing wording, but I'll test this in game and make sure it's correct. UGR, so this was the SMG that was added from Black Ops Cold War, probably like 5 or 6 months ago at this point. Got an extra 5 bullets, which is nice. And then the explosive magazine got an extra 14 bullets, so that's huge. This will be an interesting gun. I still think the Arma is going to edge it out, but it could be a fun gun to mess around with, at least now that it has a big mag. Fennec from Modern Warfare got a big neck shot multiplier buff, and then also leg, so basically lower extremities, just on the leg though, so just lower leg. The multiplier got increased from 0.9 up to 1, so nice little buff for the Fennec. Fennec was always a very fast killing gun, but it just had a small mag. But this is interesting because this is going to make it even faster killing. M1928, various changes here. So the 2.5 inch barrel rate of fire was decreased by 5% from what it used to do, and then it actually has better recoil now than it used to though.
The 5.5-inch barrel, slight buff to the minimum damage. Now does 22 up from 21. And then the 50-round default mag. Oh no, this is the high caliber mag. The damage range was decreased, used to increase by 20%, now it increases by 15%, but it has slightly better recoil than before, and then also same caliber mag, 100 rounds, so it has the same changes there. PPSh from Vanguard got a nice buff actually, so the ZAC 300mm, slightly less hipfire penalty on that barrel now, and then slightly more damage range, and then this is the big buff here. So the 8mm Nambu 71 round mag, this is the small caliber mag, gives it better recoil, better fire rate. There's no more damage penalty on that. So now you get that extra, 8% fire rate or whatever it is, but there's no penalty to your damage. So this is going to be a straight up TTK improver. The one nerf to this is it got a little bit less damage range. It was already very short damage range. So it went from minus 20% down to minus 25% for each damage range drop off. So that's going to be a pretty big nerf there, but I think there's going to be certain builds with this this mag that are going to just absolutely fry people now. And then the ZAC folding stock has slightly better recoil recovery than it did before. And then here, love this one, P90 from Modern Warfare. The mid damage was buffed to 22, so it's not going to kill any faster in the first damage range, but in the middle damage range, it is going to kill quite a bit faster with 2 extra damage. And then they actually reduced that damage range by 1.3 meters. Not a huge change there. So you'll get that extra damage out to 17.8 meters without any attachments. And then the min damage and max range, so the last drop off, got a little bit of a buff as well. So this is gonna be interesting. It might be kind of fun to use as like a sniper support or something. We'll see. But I just love the P90 like in real life because of Stargate. And yeah, I'm just excited to see the P90 get a little bit of a buff. Striker 45 also got a small buff. Neck damage multiplier was increased by about 15%, and then upper torso damage multiplier was increased by about 11%. So some slightly extra damage to the neck and the chest there for the Striker. Still not going to be anywhere near meta. And then overall attachment changes, the MX silencer, the M1928 silencer, these are the same silencer just for different weapons in Vanguard. Basically, they have slightly more recoil, slightly less bullet velocity, and slightly less damage range than they used to have. So a little bit of a nerf across the board. And then the Mercury silencer, which is the other suppressor from Vanguard, has slightly more horizontal recoil now. So they just kind of nerfed all of the Vanguard silencers a little bit. And then a big one here. Again, this is something that I talked about and kind of recommended. The 3-6X Optic was really, really powerful in the Vanguard guns. Now it has sniper glint, so it's going to glint on all weapons. Recoil control was decreased down to 1%. It used to be 5%. And then also less flinch resistance for this optic. Dramatically more ADS time. So it used to be a 4% penalty to your ADS time. Now it's a 10% penalty only on assault rifles. So sniper rifles won't be affected by that one. Then they did the exact same thing to the 4-8X. The only difference is the values are slightly different. So used to help 10% on recoil. Now it helps 5%. And the ADS penalty went from 8% up to 12% penalty. So I love this change. I feel like they're really, really listening to the community right now, and that's just awesome. Another small change here, tight grip, sustained recoil, 1% difference. So not a huge change there. All right, that's really all I wanted to cover in this video. Again, huge shout out to KevBond3 for making this Clean Raven software website. This is super, super helpful for me, and I'm sure tons of other creators and just players in general. Having those colors and the names replaced by the in-game names is just awesome. So big shout out to KevBond3. But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover. All these changes are up on TGD for the most part. There's a few small things I need to go check, like I said, in like private matches, but private matches are not available right now. So as soon as that's an option, I'll get in there and test that. But yeah, I'm going to try really hard to get back on YouTube for season 5. I know I've been putting out only like 2 or 3 videos a month for the previous seasons. So we're going to try to fix that. I'm going to try to get a lot more videos out for you guys this month. Drop in the comments like what you'd like to see besides just meta videos. If there's anything else you'd like to see, yeah, just comment down below, and there's a chance that I'll make some of those because I'm looking for new ideas to make fun videos. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you tomorrow in my next video. I hope you have a great day.